As promised, we are joined right now by a senior NFL insider for The Athletic. She is a contributor to The Athletic's Football Show podcast. She is co-host of a brand new podcast, Scoop City, with former NFL quarterback Chase Daniel. She previously spent 8 years as a reporter at ESPN. She is Dianna Russini. Dianna, I had such a blast when you joined me on my podcast back in April that I had to run you down again. How is your summer going, and how much are you enjoying your new pod with Chase Daniel?
Well, when I joined your podcast, and it was a wonderful experience, by the way, what you failed to do was warn me how hard doing a podcast is. I thought you just step in front of the microphone and start talking about football. That is so not the reality. Having a podcast is essentially having your own television show. So it's been really challenging, but also really energizing at the same time. I'd say probably the highlight of this experience for the last 2 weeks working with Chase Daniel is he is not afraid to talk about anything and give an opinion and call people out. So there have been moments already where in my head, I'm like, wow, I can't believe he said that, because I'm just not used to people in the NFL that have been a player before, 14-year veteran he is, to be so comfortable with understanding what's going on. So to be able to sit there, have a conversation with him like we're just on FaceTime, and give him the information and have him just analyze it and kind of give his version of what he thinks is happening has been easily the best part about it. And also the great guests that have joined us. We've had Stephen Jones on. We have Kirk Cousins on today. Saquon Barkley joined us. Obviously, all eyes were on him because of the Hard Knocks episodes there. And, we saw the Giants side to everything, and we got Saquon to talk about his side. So it's been a blast, but man, this is work. Summer is over.
Good for you, though. You have a good one. You've got a good approach to it. And the thing about Chase is it's one thing to know what he knows, but to your point, it's entirely another to have somebody like that who's not afraid to express what he knows. So that's a great thing. I wanted to ask you about one of the guests you mentioned. You did have VP Stephen Jones of the Cowboys on recently. Dianna, I wish that you and I had a conversation last Friday, so maybe then you could have helped me decode exactly what his old man was trying to say at the Dallas Cowboys State of the Union address. I still have no idea exactly where Jerry was going with most of that. Did you? And what was your reaction watching that?
Yeah, I've become really good at decoding at this point in my career where I feel like I know what they're trying to say. But I also had the advantage that Stephen Jones was on our show a few days before that. So Jerry was essentially saying what Stephen was saying, which is, we're not worried. We're going to get the deal done. We're focused on Dak specifically. We're optimistic. We're going to be able to move the ball down the field here and score with Dak, as he's going to be the future Dallas Cowboy. The CeeDee Lamb element to this was very interesting, and this was through Stephen Jones on our show, was and Jerry did this as well, where they pointed to other teams that are paying their receivers, their weapons, like we saw in Minnesota, pay Justin Jefferson, having way more financial flexibility because their rosters don't have high-paid players on it. So it felt a little bit like an excuse, as if we're supposed to all just be like, well, it's okay that you waited this long. You'll figure it out. Stephen Jones came across, and so did Jerry, as give us the benefit of the doubt. We've been in this position before, and we always sort it out. And really, for me, and I still can't get this answer, and Jim, you're a much better interviewer than I am, and maybe one day when they join your show, you can ask them, because Stephen didn't give me a great answer when I said the philosophy and the credit that I will give the Dallas Cowboys is they find the players. That is the hardest part of this process, is putting a roster together. They do it well. They draft over and over and have success. But then when it comes to this step of retaining them and keeping them in their building, it just seems out of sorts compared to what we're seeing around the league, and obviously with their enemy, the Philadelphia Eagles, and how they do business, as just an example. So I still can't figure out why they keep kicking the can when they can just get this done at the right time if they just got ahead of it.
Yeah, you and me both. And for your edification, Dianna, Steven and Jarrett will never appear on this program. They're always welcome to appear on this program, but if we're waiting for me to ask them those questions, neither one of us should hold our breath. But what about this? Like if and when, well, we know Dak's going to get paid. We know that. How much do you think he'll get paid? And are you convinced that Dallas is going to be the one to pay him?
I believe that Dak will be the first quarterback we see break into that 60 million. I think he'll be the first one we see out of that $50 million range. Obviously, we just saw the contracts of Tua and Jordan Love get wrapped up over the weekend. Jordan Love, technically the highest paid NFL quarterback right now. But for Dak, I think this is where he's really going to push it over. And from our conversations with Dallas on the show, it seems that they are open to paying what Dak believes he is worth. It's what's the holdup? What's the problem? Does Dak really want to be a Dallas Cowboy forever? These are questions we don't know the answer to at this point. So if it's Dallas or he hits free agency, I think Dak will be that quarterback we see get into 60 mil.
Dianna Russini joining us. I think we know what they're waiting on. If we listen to Jerry and we take him at face value, we're waiting for the last leaf to hit the ground, whatever the hell that means. But he was talking about that too. Dianna, you attended the Chiefs ring ceremony. You had the opportunity to take a pod or tape a pod with one of my favorite guys ever in Andy Reid. What is your sense of Andy's mindset as his team tries to make history and get that three-peat?
Look, Andy Reid has the advantage of having players in his locker room that can do most of the heavy lifting on the coaching side of it. The culture is established there, right? He's got Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes instilling what he wants and how he believes this team should be run. So he was sharing with us that he can spend his time being a little bit more creative when it comes to his play calling, saturating himself essentially with as much football as he can to make sure they're staying ahead of it. So they're not going to be this predictable offense. He's watching tape on the high school level. He's watching obviously tons of college tape. He's watching football from the 70s, anything to sort of ignite some creativity that will make the Kansas City Chiefs different. In terms of my just observation of him, though, and I've been around Andy for years, whether it was in Philadelphia or now with the Kansas City Chiefs, I know he just got a new contract and getting paid tends to give people a relaxed energy about them, but he seems really energized and really happy. Yes, coming off a Super Bowl again, doesn't hurt that, but that's not always the case with him. I've talked to him before when he's won. I've talked to him before after deals. This was different. He just seems lighter about it all. Like he's enjoying this journey. I even asked him if he was thinking about retirement, right? And I didn't mean that to be disrespectful to his age or to what he's done. It was just, it always kind of pops up every few years of how long is Andy Reid going to do this? He's 66 years old. When this deal, wraps up, he'll be 71. It's a 5-year deal there in Kansas City. And he's like, I still want to be here. I still want to do this. I'm excited. I'm energized by these players. So look, the one thing to me that I was curious about in terms of the Kansas City Chiefs is they've gone a little Hollywood, right? They have. They're everywhere. Where Patrick Mahomes is everywhere. He's, they spent their summer seeing the world. Travis Kelce, obviously with Taylor Swift. And I know football fans kind of go, all right, enough with the Taylor Swift stuff, but there's realness there, right? Because that takes time in terms of Travis's schedule, the effort he's putting into it, and when he's not focused on football. And they have a lot of confidence that he can handle it, but it's something they definitely consider in their day-to-day, knowing that they are no longer just the Kansas City Chiefs that happen to have this superstar quarterback. They are now the Kansas City Chiefs with Taylor Swift's boyfriend on the roster, and all eyes are on them. Right. So managing all of that is really interesting.
I was going to say, excuse me, Dianna, not only that, but they did draft the tight end, and they've got some depth in that tight end room. That's not to say that Travis Kelce is going to get any less run or any fewer touches, but they understand, you're exactly right, that's an offseason that's very different. Even Kelce himself said it's a different offseason than what I'm accustomed to. She is a senior NFL insider for The Athletic. She's a contributor to the Athletics Football Show podcast and has a brand new podcast, an excellent podcast called Scoop City with former NFL quarterback Chase Daniel. Dianna, appreciate you very much. Great to have you back, and thanks so much for doing that.
Thank you. Loving the show on X. I watch it every day, so I appreciate being here.
You are the best. Dianna Russini joining us. Good energy. Really, really sharp reporter, too, and she's earned everything she has.